Hi everyone, welcome to Art Stream. My name is Maddie. I will be running you through our cotton candy cupcake painting today. Just for a quick run through, we will be starting with the yellow background, moving on to the purple foreground, then doing the cupcake in the middle and all the details of the spiral and the cherry at the end. For those of you that are just joining us for the first time, I will show you all the equipment that I have in front of me. I have my canvas, I've got some paint brushes of 3 different sizes. I have some paints, starting with the primaries, yellow, blue and red, and black and white as well. And we do just need a tiny bit of black today. And I've got them on my palette here that I will be mixing them on. I do also have a cup for water that I will be mixing my brush between colors in, and just a rag as well to dry my brushes after that. So let's get started. So to begin, we will be grabbing our biggest brush and some yellow to do this yellow background. So I'm just going to dip into that. And we're going to look at our canvas and start drawing that line about 1/3 up. So just going straight in. So once we are happy with that line, we can then move on and just fill in the rest of the space above it. So the next color we will be using is the purple down the bottom here for our foreground. So if you don't have a purple paint, to mix purple, all you need is blue and red. So I'm just going to mix that here, still with my big brush. And of course making enough so that we have enough to cover the area. And it's going to make a really dark purple with these colors that I have here. So I'm going to lighten it up with some white to make a really nice light purple. Once that is all nice and mixed together, and I'm happy with that color, I'm going to move on and bring it over here and just paint it in the bottom 1/3 that we have left here. Of course, getting nice and close and making sure that line is as crisp as possible. So I'm all finished with that purple now, so I'm going to clean that brush because we're all done with the big brush, but I am just going to leave that to dry for a little bit because it is still a little bit wet before we move on to our cupcake. So now that our paint is all dry, we are ready to move on to our cupcake. We're going to start with the pink bit up the top here. So to mix pink, if you don't have a pink paint, you just need red and white. So I'm going to mix that on my palette here. And if you want a lighter pink, use more white, and if you want a darker pink, use more red. We will be using a bit of shading, so still try and make it dark enough so that we can add some more white to bring a highlight to it. So to do the shape of our cupcake, we're going to be working from the bottom up. So we're going to start with these 2 oval shapes here, and then we'll do the top section in a minute. So we're going to grab our pink and start with these long ovals, and we want to place them a little bit above the line of the yellow and the purple, just so that there's enough room for the bottom half of the cupcake to go over both those colours. So that's the shape we want to go for, kind of like a sausage. And we will need 2 of them on top of each other. For the swirly shape on the top, we're going to start by doing sort of a half circle shape and just filling that in. And then we have to bring it up and around to make that swirl, just like that. And then bring it around to the other side. Now that we are all done with the pink, we're going to clean our brush so that we can mix the grey to do the bottom section down here. So if you don't have a grey paint, we just add some white to black to lighten the black up and make that grey. So to make the shape of the bottom half of the cupcake, we're going to start about a thumb space down from the purple line that we've drawn, and just start by drawing a line there. And it's going to be almost a square from the bottom to the top of the cupcake, but it needs to go out just a tiny bit. And once you're happy with the shape, you just need to fill that in. Once we're happy with the grey coloured down the bottom, we're going to move on and create these little ridges, which are just little triangular shapes to cover up the gap between the pink and the grey. Next, we're going to move on and create a bit of shading within the grey. So we're going to grab a little bit of white. So I'm just cleaning my brush and dipping straight into the white, but making sure I don't have too much on my brush. So I'm just brushing it out a little bit. We're going to take the white and put it towards the left side of the ridges, as you can see in the original. I'm just putting the white here to create a little bit of dimension and also add a little bit of highlight. So once the white is down, I'm going to blend it out just a little bit. So I'm going to take most of the white off my brush just by patting it out on the palette here. And then I'm going to very lightly bring the white towards the grey, just to blend it out a little bit. Now we need to also add some highlight into our pink bit up the top. So we're going to take that white again and mix it in with the pink that we used before, if you still have some there, just to make a really, really light pink. And now we're going to take this colour and put it on the top portion of the ovals, just about here. And again, we're going to start just by putting a little bit of a strip down, and then we're going to blend it in a tiny bit. For the top section, just concentrating that light pink in the top half of the swirl. Once the colour is down, we can do the same thing as we did with the blending on the grey and just pat our brush off a little bit to get rid of some of the colour, and then going back in very lightly to bring it down a little bit. Now we should have a nice blended effect. Continuing on with my smaller brush, I'm going to mix the light blue that the spirals are, because my blue is a little bit dark and I just want to lighten it up a little bit. So just taking that blue and grabbing some white. Once I'm happy with that nice light blue colour, we can move on to do our fun little spirals in the background. So I'm just going to take the brush and start in the centre and work our way out, just like that. And we're going to do a few around the canvas very randomly, as random as we can, and do a few different sizes as well. For our cherry, we're going to be using the same brush and just red by itself, and starting just by drawing a circle. And my tip with circles is it's always much easier to start smaller and make it bigger than to do it too big and have to try and make it smaller. So I'm just gradually making it bigger until I'm happy with the size. And now we just need to do the stem of the cherry, so I'm going to clean my brush and wait for it to dry a little bit because it's still very wet. For our very last step, we need to do the stem of the cherry. So we're going to grab a little bit of black on our small brush again. And we're going to start by drawing a very small thin line towards the top corner, just like that. And continuing on with the black, we're going to draw a long curved line outwards. And to create the typical cherry stem, we're going to make it a little bit thicker towards the end and give it almost a triangular sort of shape, just like that. We are all done. This is my cotton candy cupcake. I'd love to see how all of yours turned out, so please tag us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.